traveling down life's highway, full of goodness and grace. I wake up every morning with a smile upon my face, 'cause I know everything I need to know. But I know there's still more to know. So I don't say no, let spirit flow and let it continue to grow. And know that I feel alright when I'm flowing with the river of life. I feel alright, 'cause I'm one with the love and light. I feel alright.
Good morning, Center for Spiritual Living, Rogue Valley. I'm Laura Berryhill, one of your musicians for today. This is Anton Mizerak, and we're here with Reverend Kimberly to present to you a virtual service. We're so excited. We're going to open today with a song by Michael Gott, There Is Only Love, and we'll sing it to you, and we hope that you can join in with the parts you know out there at home, and we'll just do this with the greatest love possible for each other. In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love.
When I lose myself, when it seems I've lost my way, when I go inside and quiet my mind, I can hear Spirit gently say, there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. And I hear this voice of love. It is singing through my life. It is all I am, every part of me. It is all I choose to be. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much to our beautiful musicians, Laura Berryhill and Anton Mizerak. Welcome. We're so glad you could join us. This is our second virtual-only broadcast for Center for Spiritual Living, Rogue Valley. I'm Kimberly, Hawkins, the spiritual director here. It's my pleasure to welcome you. We are an open and affirming spiritual community dedicated to teaching spiritual tools to transform personal lives and help make a world that works for everyone. And we're different because you decided to join us virtually this morning. We welcome you no matter where you may happen to be on your own personal spiritual journey. These are incredibly challenging times. We all know that. And it's our intention this morning, I and this small crew of just 9 total people, to bring you a bit of spiritual perspective, a bit of inspiration, and a feeling of connection, a feeling of unity, despite our need to be physically distanced in these times with the pandemic going on. So I want to begin this morning by opening with a prayer. If you're comfortable, you might close your eyes and take a couple deep breaths, something we may not be doing enough these days. A big breath in and a slow, complete breath out. And as we allow ourselves to sit back in the chair wherever we're sitting, to imagine that we are being enfolded, supported, held in divine arms. Or what I know beyond a doubt is that Spirit, God, whatever we choose to call that creative principle, the source of all, I know that it is everywhere present, right where I am, right where each of us is right now, in and through all of life. I know it as perfect peace, unlimited abundance, exquisite wholeness and order, beauty, joy, oneness. And so despite any conditions that are difficult and challenging right now, right here, I know that that is the truth for each of us, that we are each expressions of that one, can never be separate from that which God's Spirit is. And so I know this morning, as we continue to breathe deeply and sense our connection, not only with that divine presence within and around us, but with each other through the beauty of this ability to connect virtually, that we are uplifted, that we see truth, that we remember who we are. We remember the light that we came to be and how we can support each other in these very difficult times. So blessing each one of us, blessing each one who is affected by this pandemic in many, many ways, whether it be economically or through illness or even death. I know God is right where we are, always, right now, right here. And so in great gratitude for this opportunity to come together, in great gratitude to speak this truth, I simply release this word, knowing this prayer, as all prayers, is heard and it is answered. And we say together, and so it is. Amen. Our reading for this morning was selected by one of our beloved practitioners, Maggie Covarrubias. It comes from Mark Nepo's book, The Endless Practice. And I would say that it is very, very appropriate for what we're all experiencing right now. I invite you to listen carefully. This is a deep piece, and it may take attention to really digest its message. It's called A Turn in the Path. In Japan, kintsugi is the art of filling with gold, because it's believed the cracks and wear of life make things more beautiful, not less. As wise as this is, I believe it's not filling the cracks, but entering the cracks that reveals the gold. We carry what matters inside and experience waters that seed until the soul sprouts through our cracks into the world. And one day, against all odds, when no one is looking, we drop what we're carrying, alarmed as it falls, afraid we will lose it, pained by how much it cost. Sometimes, whatever it is, a dream we're close to living, an injustice almost resolved, a cracked sense of worth filled with gold of our choosing. Sometimes, whatever it is, breaks like an egg on the floor, and we watch the yolk of something we care for run its bright colors into everything. I don't know how to say it or explain it, but this is the journey. not the race we make of things, or the filling of cracks with gold, but how the bright colors run into everything. Sometimes we make a race of things, thinking it easier to run alongside each other than to face what's coming. But when blessed to fall beneath our plans, we might return to the isness we were born with. Wow. Yes, many of us dropping plans right now, going beneath what we thought was going to happen. And so I'm going to turn it back over to our beautiful musicians now, Anton and Laura, to prepare us for our message.
Something lost, something found. In a single moment, heaven fills your eyes, it's all around. For a single moment, can you hear your heart in the quiet of your dreams? Keep a good heart, let it be yours, let it be true. Keep a good heart, let it be happy. Keep a good heart, fill it with hope, see it anew. It is your heart to share. The sun reveals its brilliance like a diamond in the darkness, sending ripples through the cosmos to the edge of time. You've given it all away, what you never knew you wanted, what you always thought you had, but the heart remains. Keep a good heart, let it be yours, let it be true. Keep a good heart, let it be happy. Keep a good heart, fill it with hope, see it anew. It is your heart to share. Keep a good heart, keep a good heart, keep a good heart. Keep a good heart, keep a good heart, keep a good heart. Keep a good heart, keep a good heart, keep a good heart. Keep a good heart, keep a good heart, keep a good heart.
Keep a good heart. What beautiful advice. And that is an original song by Laura Berryhill. We're so blessed to have these two with us this morning. I forgot to mention that this is unusual for me to be seated when delivering a message, but I'm still recovering from surgery. I'm coming along great, but that's why the foot is elevated, just in case you were curious. I have entitled my message this morning, Together in the Chrysalis. This idea came to me because I think it's what we're all experiencing right now. We're in a chrysalis of sorts, a dark cocoon, a place where we're isolated, we're somewhat cramped perhaps, we're limited in our ability to move, and like the caterpillar, whose body is literally disintegrated, turning into goo, our personal lives have been dismantled and really shifted. Our collective lives globally have and are continuing to shift dramatically. And yet, we're also together, maybe in different chrysali, but we're all experiencing the same thing, which is really unusual for there to be something globally experienced in every heart, in every home. I came across a quote by an unknown author. When you find yourself cocooned in isolation and despair and cannot find your way out of the darkness, remember that this is similar to the place where caterpillars go to grow their wings. And so I like thinking about this experience, as difficult as it is, and I want to acknowledge that I in no way mean to minimize the challenge we're facing right now, the heartbreak for people who are experiencing disease, fear, economic loss, loss of livelihood. That is very, very real. But this is also a chance to be reconfigured, like the caterpillar, to readdress our priorities, to reform how we are with each other, to look at our values and how we have treated one another, how we have treated Mother Earth. In our foundations class, in our Science of Mind philosophy, we often teach that a breakdown is always accompanied or followed by a breakthrough. Those of you who have taken that class will remember that phrase. And we also say that the bigger the breakdown, the bigger the breakthrough that will follow. And my friends, we're in a very large breakdown right now. There's no denying it. Now, that breakthrough doesn't necessarily come immediately. Sometimes it comes quickly. Sometimes it takes time. But I want me and all of us to rest assured that that breakthrough is coming if we allow it, if we pay attention, if we remain conscious to the gifts that can come from having to take time out, be quiet, like we're in that chrysalis. So I thought I'd address several spiritual truths this morning that I think can help us walk through this period of social isolation. Maybe we should call it physical isolation, because thank goodness, thanks to the internet and this live streaming, we don't have to be socially isolated, but we are physically distanced. The first principle is that nothing happens to us, everything happens for us. I'm familiar with the work of Viktor Frankl, a survivor of the Holocaust, a Jewish psychiatrist who ministered to many, many people when he was in the concentration camp of Auschwitz. He survived. And when he came back out, he wrote a beautiful book called Man's Search for Meaning. And one of his main points, and what he learned in the concentration camps, and talk about having your freedom stripped, even more than we're experiencing right now. He said, all freedoms can be stripped away from mankind, except one. The final freedom, which is ours to keep, is the freedom to choose our attitude in any given circumstance. So despite the hardships that are going on for all of us right now across the globe, we have the freedom to choose our attitude. We know in our Science of Mind philosophy, in New Thought traditions across the globe, ancient wisdom really, New Thought, that it is our consciousness which creates. So I have no doubt, while we don't need to feel guilty and feel like somehow we're being punished by a God that thinks we're being evil, I have no doubt that there is a cause that has happened in our collective consciousness that has helped bring about this situation. And so if we shift our consciousness, we can shift what happens. I believe we have the power through prayer to encourage this virus that has come bearing gifts as well as tragedy to transmute and to go back to the nothingness from which it came. Granted, things are canceled right now. Everything is canceled. Events, plans, trips, weddings, even funerals, I heard this morning, are being limited to 10 people. But the things we value most can't be canceled. Family, friends, the ability to connect as we are right now and come together in community. Rainer Maria Rilke encouraged us, do not squander the moments of your pain. Yes, there's loss going on right now, loss of life, loss of livelihood, loss of freedom. But we have the opportunity to go within and to spend this time productively in contemplation, in reaching out to others, and taking a look at what we have valued and what we want to shift. Like that caterpillar, we have the ability to create a completely new and different life and form when we emerge from this cocoon, or chrysalis is the more appropriate word. We can make ourselves better rather than bitter. So again, things are not done to us. Life doesn't happen to us. It happens for us. Some of you may have seen a beautiful letter that was circulated on the internet recently. It was called An Imagined Letter from COVID-19 to Humans. I'd like to read it to you now. From COVID-19 to humans, stop. Just stop. It is no longer a request, it is a mandate. We will help you. We will bring the supersonic high-speed merry-go-round to a halt. We will stop the planes, the trains, the schools, the malls, the meetings, the frenetic, furied rush of illusions and obligations that keep you from hearing our single and shared beating heart, the way we breathe together in unison. Our obligation is to each other, as it has always been, even though you have forgotten. We will interrupt this broadcast, the endless cacophonous broadcast of divisions and distractions, to bring you this long-breaking news. We are not well. None of us. All of us are suffering. Last year, the firestorms that scorched the lungs of the earth did not give you pause, nor the typhoons in Africa, China, Japan, nor the fevered climates in Japan and India. You have not been listening. It is hard to listen when you're so busy all the time, hustling to uphold the comforts and conveniences that scaffold your lives. But the foundation is giving away, buckling under the weight of your needs and desires. We will help you. We will bring the firestorms to your body. We will bring the fever to your body, the burning, searing, and flooding to your lungs, that you might hear. We are not well. Despite what you might think or feel, we are not the enemy. We are messenger. We are ally. We are a balancing force. We are asking you to stop, to be still, to listen, to move beyond your individual concerns and consider the concerns of all, to be with your ignorance, to find your humility, to relinquish your thinking minds and travel deep into the mind of the heart, to look up into the sky, streaked with fewer planes, and see it. Notice its condition. Clear, smoky, smoggy, rainy. How much do you need it to be healthy so that you may also be healthy? To look at a tree and see it, to notice its condition. How does its health contribute to the health of the sky, to the air you need to breathe, to be healthy? To visit a river and see it, to notice its condition, clear, clean, murky, polluted. How much do you need it to be healthy so that you may too be healthy? How does its health contribute to the health of the tree, who contributes to the health of the sky so that you may also be healthy? Many are afraid now. Do not demonize your fear, and also do not let it rule you. Instead, let it speak to you in your stillness. Listen for its wisdom. What might it be telling you about what is at work, at issue, at risk, beyond the threats of personal inconvenience and illness? As the health of a tree, a river, the sky tells you about the quality of your own health, what might the quality of your health tell you about the health of the rivers, the trees, the sky, and all of us who share this planet with you? Stop. Notice if you're resisting. Notice what you are resisting. Ask why. Stop. Just stop. Be still. Listen. Ask us what we might teach you about illness and healing, about what might be required so that all may be well. We will help you if you listen. Kristen Flintz wrote that poem. Wow. And we do have that opportunity, don't we? to stop all the running around and to contemplate, to remember our spiritual practices. So that first precept, nothing happens to us, everything happens for us. The second precept I want to talk about is about feelings, because I think, like me, I'm guessing most of us have a whole lot of feelings going on right now, ranging from agitation, anxiety, fear, even outright terror, depression. What do we do with those things? The precept is that you have to feel it to heal it, that the only way out of difficult emotions is through them. We cannot ignore them. We cannot sweep them under the carpet and pretend they're not there. We can't do the la, 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 everything's okay. We don't need to camp out in them. We don't need them to take us over, but we need to at least be mindful of what we're feeling, be aware of what we're feeling, and to acknowledge them. Part of the way we can do that is to pay attention to how our bodies are feeling. Where am I feeling tension? What is that tension saying about how I'm feeling? And just to name the feeling, let's say it's fear. Research at UCLA has shown that just being able to name the feeling is the first step in allowing it to release its grip on us. So that's an important thing to do. You know, fear right now is natural. We don't need to beat ourselves up. I think sometimes when we're spiritual and we believe that God is all there is and God is good and everything works for our good, we can sometimes beat ourselves up. Oh, I feel fear. Something's wrong with me. And I would say no. You know, yes, we're spiritual. We're also human. And it's human. Even Jesus, that last night in the Garden of Gethsemane, begged his Father, please take this cup from me if you will. And then, but thy will be done, not mine. So once we acknowledge the fear and become aware of it and have some awareness of it, it is so important then to remember our spiritual practices. So important to pray, to meditate, to read uplifting things. Surely we need to be aware of the news and watch what's going on so that we can do what is helpful to stop the spread of this virus. But we also need to anchor ourselves in spiritual truth. I'm thinking of the beautiful, beautiful 23rd Psalm. Yeah? Yeah. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. The idea that thou leadest me to lie down in green pastures, beside still waters, to restore my soul. I think that's where we're being led, just as that letter from COVID virus, that imagined letter is telling us. We are being called to be still and to know that God is right where we are with all of us. It's interesting what fear can do. You know, there's a Buddhist story about a pilgrimage that was happening in ancient times. Hundreds, thousands of people going through a certain area to get to a pilgrimage gathering. And there was a saint, an older man who lived in the area on the path. He couldn't follow because he was somewhat elderly and disabled. But he was watching all the pilgrims as they passed, and he noticed one figure that didn't quite look human. And so he stopped them. The figure looked a little bit scary and said, "Sir, you know, who are you? Where are you going?" And the figure said, "I'm Mr. Cholera, and I've been given directions to kill 500 people, 500 souls. And so I'm going to the pilgrimage because that's a good opportunity for me to do that." And the wise man said, "Well, if that's your mandate from God, go in peace." On the way home, the hermit was watching as people came back, the saint. He found again Mr. Cholera and stopped him and asked him, because what happened was news had spread that not 500 people had died, but 1,500 people had died. And the saint asked him, "How come you didn't tell me the truth? You set out to kill 1,500. And Mr. Cholera said, "No, it was the companion behind me, Mr. Fear. I took 500 lives. He took the other 1,000. It is fear that most kills, not disease. And so I'm reminded that while we need to acknowledge the fear, we cannot stay there. We need to rise above it, because our very immune systems, as we spoke about last week, are compromised when we get into fear-based thinking. And our immune systems are lifted when we remember truth, when we pray, when we remember our oneness, and that God intends only good for us, and that this too shall pass. There's another story from the beautiful Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh. He said that when refugee boats left Vietnam and they met with pirates or they met with storms, if everybody panicked and got fearful, it was a disaster. But if even one person on that boat was able to remain centered, everything worked out okay. We're being called, my friends, to be that one person in our boat, to remain centered in the spiritual truth. I know it's a time when we miss being together in spiritual community and Sangha, if you will. One of the things we're planning here at Center for Spiritual Rogue Valley is all of our ministers and practitioners have gotten together via Zoom, and we have planned a daily spiritual practice call 6 days a week at 9 a.m. in the morning via Zoom. So not only can we hear each other, we can see each other, which is very nice right now. So we will be sending word out via email if you're on our e-newsletter list, and we'll be posting it on Facebook, the link where you can join us for prayer, for meditation, Monday through Saturday. We'll come together. That's just one of the things we're doing. And there's so many other things going on. If you're tuned into Facebook, if you're tuned into the internet, gosh, Marianne Williamson, Deepak Chopra, so many spiritual teachers, Tara Brach, are giving messages that we can listen to because we've got time now to do so. So we've talked about nothing happens to us, it happens for us. We've talked about the ability to feel the feelings, to move through them, to get back to the spiritual truth that God is all there is present all the time. The last precept I want to talk about is gratitude. Because while divine love and being connected to our source and knowing that connection, which is our first step, the first 2 steps of spiritual mind treatment, recognizing the divine as all there is, unifying, recognizing that we are one with it, we are made from it, we cannot be separate. While divine love and that connection casts out fear, gratitude is the other practice that casts out fear and strengthens our faith. I posted recently on my personal Facebook page for people to speak to, what are you grateful for in these times? And you know what came back mostly was very simple things. Having time to read, to reflect, having time to spend with my children and get to know them, having time to appreciate the song of birds outside the window. Jean Houston wrote a beautiful piece where she talked about the kindnesses that are happening. She went to Costco and noticed that there'd be one item left on a shelf, and instead of a panic and people grabbing it, people would stand by and say, "Do you need this more than me? Go ahead, please." Kindnesses like the people in Italy singing to one another to make sure that lonely people living alone are connected, singing from the balconies. Many, many things to be grateful for. And I have another thing I wanted to let you know is happening from this. Our minister, Reverend Dr. Linda Rapond, had the thought, because our kids are home from school, it's a perfect opportunity to offer a foundations class, a foundations of science of mind for our teens. That's happening starting Tuesday, twice a week on Zoom. What a beautiful opportunity that wouldn't have been there if it weren't for our being isolated and our need to be cocooned. I'd like to read another poem. It's not quite as long as the other one. It's written by a Catholic Irish priest. It's called Lockdown. And I think it's very pertinent to what we're talking about here. Lockdown by Richard Hendrick. Yes, there is fear. There is isolation. Yes, there is panic buying. Yes, there is sickness. Yes, there is even death. But they say that in Wuhan, after so many years of noise, you can hear the birds again. They say that after just a few weeks of quiet, the sky is no longer thick with fumes, but blue and gray and clear. They say that in the streets of Assisi, people are singing to each other across the empty squares, keeping their windows open so that those who are alone may hear the sounds of family all around them. They say that a hotel in the west of Ireland is offering free meals and delivery to the housebound. Today, a young woman I know is spreading flyers with her number through the neighborhood so that elders may have someone to call on. All over the world, people are slowing down and reflecting. All over the world, people are looking at their neighbors in a new way. All over the world, people are waking up to a new reality, to how big we really are, to how little control sometimes we really have, to what really matters, to love. So we pray and we remember that yes, there is fear, but there does not have to be hate. Yes, there is isolation, but there does not have to be loneliness. Yes, there is panic buying, but there does not have to be meanness. Yes, there's sickness, but there does not have to be disease of the soul. And yes, there is even death, but there can always be a rebirth of love. Today, breathe. Listen behind the factory noises of your panic. The birds are singing again. The sky is clearing. Spring is coming, and we are always encompassed by love. Open the windows of your soul, and though you may not be able to touch across the empty square, sing. Please, sing. The beauty that's emerging from very challenging times. You know, something else that has touched me very deeply, actually brought me to tears, was the news report that Chinese doctors who have pretty much finished now caring for those in China who were stricken by COVID-19 are traveling to our country to help people here. Can you imagine going through the terror, the horror of what went on in China, and being willing to do it all over again for people across the world, on the other side of the world? What more proof can we have that we are one, and that in many ways, as devastating as this virus is, it is making us aware that we are one, and it is bringing us together. A reminder to reach out. Don't be alone. We have prayer available. You can request prayer on our website, cslroguevalley.org. Our practitioners and ministers' contact information is listed at the end of our newsletter. By the way, if you would like to receive our newsletter and don't, you can sign up on our website, cslroguevalley.org. CSL, our organization, Centers for Spiritual Living, has organized virtual concerts these 2 weekends. We've listened to Amy Bishop and Melly and Z. If you tune into that Facebook page, on our Facebook page, you'll see those links. What a wonderful thing to do. Concerts of New Thought music to uplift us and bring us together. There's a Buddhist concept of a bodhisattva. A bodhisattva is someone who is an awakened being or an awakening being. And the prayer of the bodhisattva is, whatever arises, may it serve our awakening. And I think that is our prayer right now as well. Whatever is arising, let it serve our awakening. Let us not squander the hour of our pain. May this suffering awaken this heart, all our hearts. May it help me love. May it help love go viral. Let's create a pandemic of compassion. It's happening. I think it is already happening. And so let's remember that life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us. as we are willing to feel our feelings, we can heal. Go back to the spiritual truth that God is all there is. Feel the gratitude, which creates more to be grateful for. As the poet Martha Postlewaite told us, create a clearing in the dense forest of your life. I think that's what's happening now, my friends. We're creating a clearing in this dense, frenetic life that we've been leading. We're creating a clearing and an ability to look at our values, to look at what we believe, to look at our actions, and to figure out what really matters. We're in this chrysalis together. Breakdowns are always followed by breakthroughs. And if we can imagine that as our life as we know it is being disintegrated, dissolved, what's forming and what will happen, like the caterpillar, we may not know exactly when, is that we will be formed in a new, lighter body, a beautiful body with wings. We are growing our wings, and when we emerge, oh my, each one on the planet has the ability to take flight, and we have the ability to fly with each other in a new dimension, a new reality, a new knowing that we are one. Bless you all, my friends. From here, I'd like to go into a meditation accompanied by our beautiful musicians, Anton, Mizerak, and Laura. And we'll do a prayer later on. So I'm going to invite you to get very comfortable wherever you are. I'm going to invite you to take, again, some deep, deep, deep breaths. Slowly in and very slowly out. And another deep breath, deeply breathing in. And a letting go kind of a breath, slow and complete. And I invite you now in your mind's eye to imagine that you're a caterpillar. You're a caterpillar, a cocooned in the chrysalis, in a dark place, a fairly cramped place. You may be feeling a little fear, not knowing what's going on, not feeling like you're in control. And so you name that fear, and something about naming it allows you to relax just a little bit. You can feel the walls of the cocoon. You take time to rest there because there's not much else to do but to rest. You take comfort in knowing that perhaps there's nothing to do but surrender. And in the quiet of this space, you begin to sense that perhaps you're not really alone. Can you sense that there's a presence there? And realizing that I've named my fear and I sense a presence, there must be something other than the fear being aware of that presence. And that thing, that consciousness is not afraid and cannot be harmed. And what is this presence I'm sensing? So ironically, in this dark space, almost like a womb, I begin to see, just perhaps in my mind's eye, a light here in the darkness of this chrysalis, a brilliant light. And as I look upon it, my thought is love. This light is love. And I allow this light to enter my head, if my head is still there because I'm dissolving. I allow this light to heal me, to breathe me, to live in me. I allow it to circulate in every place of my body, and as it does, I feel its power. I feel it as something eternal and good, as pure love, as pure light. And oddly enough, in this place of isolation and cocooning, I begin to imagine the other caterpillars each in their own chrysalis, in other branches on my tree, in other trees in my neighborhood, in other trees, in other groves, in other forests, in other countries around the world, each caterpillar this time of year in its own chrysalis. And I wonder if each of those other caterpillars doesn't begin to sense that presence right where they are as well, if they don't also sense that light, infusing them with love, with healing, with power. And I realize that all is well. There will come a time, and I can see it in my mind's eye, when each caterpillar finds its way out of that chrysalis, when each of us has grown wings and a beautiful new body, and as we take flight, we are flying at a higher altitude, living from a higher consciousness, a higher perspective. And we have the ability to create a world that truly works for everyone. We don't know how long we'll remain in this chrysalis, but we trust and we know that there is divine timing, divine order unfolding right where we are. And so we rest for now. We turn within. We reach out as best we can, virtually, to other beings. We offer service, we offer help. We cocoon, we commune. All is well, my friends. All is truly well. And so knowing this is a place where we can return whenever we like, this place of quiet, of communing, of oneness, I invite you to begin now to bring your attention back to the room where you're seated. Perhaps allow a little caterpillar smile to cross your lips, acknowledging virtually all the other caterpillars watching us this morning, knowing we're one. And I will go into prayer now. Please join me. That light that is God, that is eternal, that is love, is here with us right now and always, even in the darkest of times. No dark can extinguish that light. It is forever eternal and changeless. And yet we can be changed by it, as we allow it to guide us, to protect us, to guard us, to unite us. God, Spirit, all there is. I am one with it. Each sentient being is one with it. We are the light, the life, the love, the freedom, the beauty, the peace, the abundance that God, Spirit, whatever we call that one power and one presence is. And so right now I bless, knowing Spirit blesses as well. Each of us listening, I bless all of the heroes on the front lines of this pandemic. the grocery store crew, the EMTs, the hospital staff and doctors, our leaders making decisions, trying to protect all of us. I bless each of us doing the best we can to respect physical distancing, to respect all the guidelines so that we might protect each other as well as ourselves. I bless all the moms and dads worrying about their children, all the moms and dads worrying about their moms and dads. I know that even though we may be physically apart, together we are closer than ever in this together globally. I bless all faith traditions, knowing each of them is a pathway to one God, many paths, one God. I bless this time, knowing that we don't squander this time of pain, but each of us in our own way find a way to go deep, to be willing to be transformed in this chrysalis, to be willing to take new stands for new policies, for new ways of living, both personally, both nationally, and globally, that we might truly live as one. Everything happens for us. There is only one power, one presence. We are part of it. I release this word in gratitude for this time to be together, in gratitude to be able to speak these truths, in gratitude for each one here in this room and each one listening. I let it be, I let God be God. And we say together, and so it is. Amen. Wow, you guys. Thank you. We're going to go, I guess I need to talk about one more thing. And that is the idea of giving. It is a spiritual practice, to be aware of the good that comes into our lives. It is a spiritual practice to be willing to share a portion of that good to places where we're spiritually fed. And so while it is not required, I invite you to support our center, especially if you're a member, to remember that even during this time when we're not meeting in person, we still have the same expenses. There are many ways to give. Our affirmation is divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I choose to circulate. So whether you mail in a check to our P.O. Box 1458 Medford 97501, whether you go online, cslroguevalley.org, and give there, or download the app, Give Plus. We so appreciate your generosity. And we're going to just listen now to a beautiful song called Circulation.
Circulation, circulation, like the water raining down to grow the flowers up through the ground. Circulation, circulation, the universe you give into will multiply and send it back to you. Pressed down, good measure, shaken together and running over. Pressed down, a good measure, shaken together and running over. Pressed down, a good measure, shaken together and running over. Pressed down, a good measure, shaken together and running over. Circulation, circulation, like the water raining down to grow the flowers up through the ground. Circulation, circulation, the universe you give into will multiply it and send it back to you. Multiply it and send it back to you. Multiply it and send it back to you.
Thank you. And our closing song by Anton Mizerak, Laura Berryhill. This one is written by Anton.
Thank you for being in the world. I love you. I bless you. Thank you for being in the world. I love you. I bless you. Thank you for being in the world. I love you. I bless you. Thank you for being in the world. I love you. I bless you. Thank you for being in the world. I love you. I bless you. Thank you for being in the world. If you're not alone, turn to the person next to you. I love you. I bless you. Thank you for being in the world. I love you. I bless you. Thank you for being in the world. I love you. I bless you. Thank you for being in the world. And if you are alone, know that you're not alone. I love